Good afternoon. Today I will talk about how often questions. Uh, Let me tell you that we use this kind of question in the simple present. Before we go to the question, please repeat with me. Once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, every day. Now let's go to the questions. And we're going to start the question with how often. Then we have do. Let me tell you that because we are going to use do, the subject will be I, you, we, they only. And we have the subject, then we have the verb, a complement. The complement is not an obligation. Sometimes we have the complement, sometimes we don't. At the end we have the question mark, and that's mandatory to write the question mark because we're talking about questions, not sentences. Okay, the example is we start with how often, as we said before, then we have do. The possible subjects are I, you, we, they. In this case we have you. Then we have the verb play. In this case I have the complement, but as I said before, it is not mandatory. Sometimes we have the complement and sometimes it is not necessary. At the end we have the question mark. Let's continue. Now let's see how we answer this question. Okay, and I will start with a subject, a verb, a complement, and at the end we have a period. In the statements we have a period. In the questions we have a question mark. And the example of this answer of this sentence is I play soccer once a week. And don't forget the period. Don't forget we need a period. Then let's go to another question. In this case I will talk about he, she, and it. We start with how often, then we need the auxiliary for the simple present, that is does. Then we need the subject. In this case the possible subjects are he, she, it. It can be a name, an animal, or an object. Then we need the verb. Sometimes we have the complement, and at the end we have the question mark. The example question, we have how often does he play soccer? This is the example question. How often does he play soccer? Now let's see how we answer this question. Remember that question we use does, so it's almost the same, but it has something different. Okay, the statement or sentence, we have the structure, subject, verb, complement, and period. And the example or the answer for the previous question, how often does he play soccer, is he plays soccer once a week. And don't forget the period. So this was an explanation about how often question and how to answer them. Now there is a homework and there are some questions. Let's go one by one. How often do you do your homework? Number 2, how often do you play soccer? Number 3, how often do you go to school? Number 4, how often do you watch TV? Number 5, how often do you read books? The next question, How often do you study? How often do you study? How often do you go online? How often do you exercise? How often do you drink coffee? Next, how often do you text? How often do you clean your house? How often do you take a shower? Okay, remember your homework. Please write the sentences in your notebooks and answer them. Please follow the structure to answer the question. Remember that in the sentences or statements we have the subject, then we have the verb and the complement. And something that is very important for me is the period. Don't forget it. Send your pictures to my WhatsApp on Friday 11. Friday 11. Thank you very much. Bye bye.